With the new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom having been released, Zelda fans and theorists alike have been trying to figure out quite a few things about the upcoming game. Why is there a car? What is that thing? And most importantly, what happens to Zelda? If we just looked at the first trailer, we couldn't really tell what was going to happen to her, but then came along the second trailer and we're like, oh, yeah, she's dead. Then we get this trailer, which makes me very confused. Let's start out by roughly outlining what goes down while Link and Zelda are in the caves. They explore some ruins and eventually stumble upon this incredibly shocking scene of this green hand holding Ganon's chest as the dark malice pours out from him. Then at some point while they're looking at him, the ground begins to shake and the floor collapses from underneath Zelda. Link, who has spent his whole life training to protect Zelda, dives after her in an act of desperation to save her, and things get complicated. There seems to be two main plausible options. One, as Link dives after Zelda, the green hand grasps onto his arm and he's unable to reach her, and so Zelda falls into the abyss below. Or two, the same sequence occurs up until the green arm catches Link, and Link catches Zelda just in time, preventing her from falling. One is obviously preferred over the other, but it's also extremely less likely. As much as I'd like to try to convince myself that Link saves Zelda here, it doesn't really line up. For starters, look at this scene of Zelda falling. She falls far, and I mean really far. Just judging by the distance she's fallen, I don't know how Link could have caught up to her in time. The main reason I brought up the possibility of Link saving Zelda here is because of these few frames where Link and Zelda presumably grab each other's hands, with Link above Zelda. There is one glaring issue here. During the scene, I want you to take a good look at Link's right arm. And then, look at these scenes. Then this scene. I'm sure you get the idea. This shot of Zelda grabbing Link's arm clearly happens before the malice attacks him and the green energy is absorbed into it. This scene probably occurs earlier while the two are exploring the caves, and what I think is happening is that Link is helping Zelda up onto some higher elevation within the cave. Look closely at their hands. Link's hand barely moves downwards, while Zelda's is clearly moving upwards. If they were falling in this scene, that wouldn't really even be possible. And to top it all off, the background isn't even moving, which makes it somewhat safe to assume nobody's falling here. So by now you're probably like, oh, Zelda's dead. Great, thanks for ruining my day. That's exactly what I thought at first, but there's still something that I haven't talked about which really confuses me. This scene right here. Like, come on, that's Zelda, right? Maybe? I don't know. I've seen people suggest that this is Zelda when she's basically a ghost, just like how King Rome and the champions are in Breath of the Wild. And honestly, that could kind of work, except for this tiny detail I can't get over. In the case of King Rome, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, I'm sorry. And the champions, they have these floating bluish-green things around them. This character, whoever they are, does not. So we can also take a look at the possibility of this being someone besides Zelda. Like, some people say that it could be Hylia, or some sort of companion like Midna or Fi. If either of those are the case, then I guess Zelda is gone. But if this is Zelda, oh boy, if this is Zelda, then she's probably alive! Let's go! But this really only raises the question once again. What happens to Zelda? Is she alive or not? Honestly, I don't know. I wish I could give a more definitive answer, but the trailers don't make it very clear. And hey, I wouldn't be too worried about it. After all, this wouldn't be the first time it appears that the princess we need to save is gone for good. Twilight Princess being the most obvious one to have done this ended with both Link and Zelda very much alive. Even Zelda in Breath of the Wild, this game's predecessor, appeared to be dead. And I mean, it makes sense. The average lifespan of a Hylian is 80 to 90 years. If you consider Zelda's age before the Calamity, and then add 100 years, Well, somehow at the end of Breath of the Wild, she's neither dead nor an old woman, so if Zelda does die in Tears of the Kingdom, there's a pretty good chance she'll be revived somehow, but don't quote me on that. Now why does Link keep changing outfits?